do I still believe that HBAR hypothetically reaching the price of $3 during this run as a realistic possibility? The answer is yes, even though that's not financial advice, but that's kind of hard to believe as of right now because even though HBAR has been holding actually pretty strong when compared to a bunch of other altcoins, which in some cases I've seen are down like 90%, over 90%, which is kind of crazy, from their most recent top, right? But HBAR really isn't doing that. Now, granted, it's still having a pullback, but I think better days are ahead because when you think about it, people are very, sometimes consumed. They really do love layer one blockchains. There's nothing wrong with that. And they're very amazing. They're going to continue to do good moving forward. And I'm bullish on many layer one blockchains as well. But it doesn't mean that there isn't a better alternative, at least in theory, because when you take a look at Hedera, this really is going to play into the narrative as to what people usually like during a fully fledged bull run. Usually when the market is euphoric, usually when things are popping, as they say, right? Typically, what happens? People look for something that is new, that is interesting, and something that is very revolutionary. And HBAR, it fits the bill because if you take a look at Hedera Hashgraph, it actually doesn't use traditional blockchain technology. The reason being is because something else that's a lot better, they're using that, which is called a directed acyclic graph. Now, a directed acyclic graph consumes way less energy typically. And what I mean by this is that Hedera per transaction on average actually consumes less energy than Solana, Ethereum, BNB Chain, Avalanche, Algorand. I mean, the list is very endless. So when I take a look at something like that, that's a big thumbs up, especially for enterprises nowadays that are looking to go green and also just enterprises in general that want to become, more efficient in terms of their energy usage. Why not, right? So when it comes to Hedera, it ticks that box. Now, keep in mind, another advantage of a directed acyclic graph is the fact that it's typically a lot more scalable. Keep in mind, Hedera's native services can reliably scale up to 10,000 transactions per second and even beyond. I mean, let's just let that sink in. Up to 10,000 transactions per second and even beyond. This is how amazing it is. It's very scalable. That's just a very fancy way of saying that. Now, let's not forget something like Hedera just by nature, because again, Hedera Hashgraph does use a directed acyclic graph, aka a DAG. Because of that, it also has improved data storage. Also people would say that security is very fantastic. So really, if I take a look at traditional blockchain technology, it's good, but this one just feels a little bit better. Now, adoption when it comes to this isn't the best, but during a fully fledged bull run, what do people also usually care about? They care about the narrative. They care about the story. They care about what something could be. It's like, for instance, I believe that, when it comes to something like Algorand or Avalanche, it's not like they're layer one blockchains that have the best adoption of all time, but because by nature, a lot of people thought it was good, which it is, in my opinion. I can't speak on anyone's behalf, but because of that, the hype and anticipation really allowed for it to become one of the biggest projects out there, even as of right now, despite the, price pullback when it comes to altcoins and also Bitcoin in general, right? So the way you take a look at it is that people usually care about what something could be as opposed to what it already is. And keep in mind, Hedera has a lot of amazing use cases. I mean, for instance, right, we take a look at when it comes to Hedera, one of the amazing things about it is that it's also focused on something called data integrity and as well as AI. Now, why is this amazing? It's because, of course, the AI market is expected to reach, nearly $2 trillion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. And also data integrity is, of course, very amazing. So the way you take a look at it is that when it comes to Hedera, they're amazing. Now, not to mention, we take a look at, for instance, it's also focused on something called RWA. Now, RWA stands for real world asset. And more specifically, I do want to talk about something called RWA tokenization. I should say even more specific than that, RWA tokens. Now, why is this amazing? Because if you take a look at it, right, RWA tokens are digital representations of physical assets on the blockchain. Now, what could these assets be? It could be like, for instance, art, real estate. There's a lot of possibilities, right? Like also financial instruments like bonds and stocks. So the way you take a look at it is that when it comes to Hedera, it's really fantastic in that sense. Now, people may argue that, oh yeah, the AI market really isn't popping off. Well, again, yeah, the space is going down. People aren't really going to focus on that, right? As of right now, but it was a pretty hyped up market not too long ago. I think it's only fair to assume that as the market picks up again, that is going to be a big narrative. Also, when it comes to RWAs, again, real world assets, That's going to be big narrative. Hedera is not the only project doing that, of course, right? When it comes to RWA or like, something like, let's say AI, of course not. But again, a lot of these other projects that are focused on that, they're using traditional blockchain technology. I can't say everyone, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, Hedera is not doing that. Again, Hedera Hashgraph, directed acyclic graph, this could be a lot better, in my opinion, in theory at least. Now, let's not forget, when it comes to HBAR, exchange listings are pretty good. It's not the best, but I'm saying it's pretty good, right? And this is really going to matter during a fully fledged bull run. Now, people may be thinking that, okay, the bull run's over, it's done, it's all this. Well, I disagree with that, quite frankly, because keep in mind, historically speaking, as a worst case scenario, altcoins, they usually peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Now, are we even a year removed from the last Bitcoin halving event? No, we're not. The last Bitcoin halving event happened in April last year, so 18 months from there is actually around October this year. I mean, just let that sink in. There's still ways to go. We're still in March as of right now. October, around that time, still quite a ways away, still over half a year away at this point, right? Now, granted, things can maybe happen a little bit later, a little bit sooner. We just never truly know, but it's a good gauge in terms of what we've seen historically speaking, because of course we can take a look at the past, but we can't take a look at the future. At least personally, I can't. I don't have a magic crystal ball to tell the future. Now, history isn't always going to repeat itself, but it tends to rhyme. I've seen this when it comes to multiple cycles. So when I take a look at something like, this bull run, sure, it could be different, but I just don't see why things wouldn't pick up near the end of this year. Now, not to mention, we take a look at as well, right? When it comes to Charles Hoskinson, who is basically a genius in my opinion. I mean, keep in mind, Charles is the co-founder of Ethereum and the founder of Cardano. He does predict that based on a video that he was part of back in November last year, in the next 1 or 2 years, he could very well see Bitcoin reaching anywhere between $250,000 all the way up to $500,000. So again, that's best case scenario timeline, November this year. Actually, if you base it off the video that he was part of back in November last year, where he said 1 to 2 years from then, right? Again, 1 to 2 years from then, Bitcoin anywhere between 250 grand all the way up to $500,000. So really, even Charles Hoskinson doesn't view this, in my opinion, as the peak, at least yet, or should I say the most recent peak, right? I don't think that was it. I think better days are ahead. And why would it be the peak, right? There's over 600 million crypto owners currently, according to Crypto.com research. I have a hard time believing that what we saw back then was truly the peak. Yeah, I just disagree with that. But really, I think better days are ahead, and HBAR going to the price of $3, keep in mind, if it were to go to that price, right? Considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $127 billion, which is around a 14x from here. But that's not too bad, really. I mean, we've seen, something like Ethereum exceed this by over $400 billion back in 2021 in terms of market cap. And back then we had way less crypto owners, right? There was around 300 million at the peak of that bull run. Now we have over 600 million. I really do believe that the sky's the limit. I don't think this is too much to ask for. HBAR, yes, it has gone down from its most recent peak. Has it been doing the worst? No. But has it been doing the best either? No. But in my opinion, better days are ahead. And again, $3, that's still my price target for this bull run. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. Greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm up. Peace. Bye.